Dave's absolutely right. Tonight is going to be a good night. Tonight's about raising the bar. I'm going to talk a little bit about raising the bar. I'm going to talk to you a little bit first about how I ended up here, which is still sort of bewildering to me, but in any case, if Dave asks you to do something, you do it. And so I asked Dave, what do you want me to talk about? I said, I'm no more special than anyone else. He said, well, you have a unique perspective. He said, you're a parent, you're a community member, and you represent a large employer in the community, so why don't you talk about that? And he said, oh, by the way, he said, it needs to be high intensity, and you have 3 minutes to do it. So I thanked Dave for that, and I said, well, who am I competing with? Who do I have to compete with? Who else is talking? So he gives me the list of people who's talking, and I said, well, if I'm going to be high intensity, I'd have to ride up on a motorcycle doing backflips and compete with that group. I don't think I'm going to do that. So I'll pass on the high intensity, but I'll talk about what the one-to-one initiative means for me as a parent, as a community member, and representing a large employer. As a parent, it's extremely exciting, and it's also extremely intimidating to me, and I'm going to tell you why. It's exciting to me from the standpoint that every one of our kids in our school district are going to have an equal opportunity for new teaching, new learning, access to technology, new doors that maybe have never been open to some of them. As a parent, I'm really, really excited about that. I'm also a little intimidated by it. Who remembers the first time their child brought their algebra homework home and this was the first time you couldn't help them? Everybody remember that? If you don't, you will. Or in my case, I turn them over to my wife and she figures it out. That's going to happen a whole bunch of times with technology. It happened with my kids last year. My son brings homework home that he's got to do graphing. He has to graph 3 different types of graphing. So I show him in Excel a really rudimentary sort of way of graphing. He says to me, he says, Dad, why not just put the numbers in, use the graphing function in the application, and it'll make the graph for you? Well, of course I knew that, but there are people I work with that don't even know that, and I was surprised that a 12-year-old would know that. So what I'm going to do from now on is when I have homework at work that relates to technology, I'm bringing that home. He's the teacher, I'm the student. He raised the bar. So what does this mean to me? I just shared what it meant for me as a parent. What does it mean to me as a community member? Dave said it earlier. The community made a bold step that we're going to invest in our kids. And we made that bold step in financing this project, or financing the one-to-one initiative. We should be extremely proud of that. We're an extremely progressive community. We showed that we invest in our kids. The other thing, I had the opportunity in the hospital to meet with prospective employees. Might be nurses, might be new physicians, might be physical therapists. Do you think it matters when I tell them, the second question always is, what are my school options? And I say, you know what, there are 4 districts in our service area. Do you think when I talk about those 4 districts and talk about the one-to-one initiative, do you think that matters? You bet it matters. We're raising the bar for the community. Dave didn't talk about this, but I know there's lots of discussion about how do you all as students transfer that newfound, and for some of you it's not newfound, but some of that expanded knowledge of technology to the rest of the community. And there are plans for doing that. You ought to do that. You ought to raise the bar for the community. What does the one-to-one initiative mean to me or mean to us as an employer? I think I've shared this, and this is fairly well publicized, that there's a skills gap in the country as it relates to problem solving and critical thinking skills. One of the benefits of teaching and learning with technology is you learn problem solving and critical thinking skills. So as an employer, the one-to-one initiative is very important in developing that. There's something equally important, and you saw it in the video earlier. Knowledge is changing exponentially. Medical knowledge, the shelf life of medical knowledge is about 2 years. Clinical protocols change every day. If we waited for textbooks to be reprinted and updated, it would never happen. It's how I use